Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a really fascinating collection of interconnected narratives.
Hmm.
They're all centered around, the messy, complicated world of relationships, desire, personal growth, that sort of thing.
Right. You share these excerpts from, well, it's quite a bundle of stories focusing on romance and intimacy.
Exactly. So it gives us this wide lens on how different characters handle, like, love, lust, commitment.
And their own self-discovery, which is key.
Absolutely. So the mission today really is to try and pull out some key insights into what makes these connections tick.
From the initial spark.
Yeah, right through to the challenges of long-term stuff and the individual journeys within all that. We're kind of looking for those aha moments.
Those insights into what drives people in their intimate lives, it's a great set of sources for that.
Yeah, this collection of fictional scenarios should give us plenty to unpack.
Definitely. It lets us examine the multifaceted nature of human connections. Through these, well, quite diverse experiences, we can really delve into patterns, motivations.
Okay, so let's unpack this. One of the first things that jumped out at me was how differently characters deal with relationship milestones. Anniversaries, for instance.
Oh, yeah. You've got Tony, who seems to celebrate, like, everything.
Right, loads of anniversaries. And then there's Kate, who's much more practical. She suggests they only really count the big ones, moving in together.
Yeah, the major commitment markers.
And John pipes up, sort of playfully, about maybe needing more fighting and making up like Tony, seeming kind of intrigued by her drama.
Which is interesting. His actual view on anniversaries seems closer to Kate's, though focus on the big shifts.
It is. So what's interesting there is, what does that tell us? Different needs, maybe?
Could be. Tony's need for frequent acknowledgments, maybe that signals a need for ongoing validation. Reassurance.
Like little check-ins.
Exactly, reinforcing the bond regularly.
Yeah.
Whereas Kate and John focusing on the big milestones might show they value, the significant steps of commitment more.
And John's comment about fighting and making up.
Yeah, even though it's playful, it touches on that idea that some people see conflict as, well, passion, maybe, engagement, while others just want harmony.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How different couples establish their own ways of valuing these things, what those differing views suggest about their underlying expectations.
Absolutely. It's like they build their own relationship language around milestones.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, dramatically actually. Your sources are just full of these electric moments of like new connections, that instant spark.
Oh, definitely.
It's so clear with Kate's reaction to Nathan, the stranger at the resort, that enchanting hint of an accent, the body she knows will be in her dreams, that good-natured but gorgeous smile.
Yeah, the descriptions really pull you in.
And her internal reaction is just as intense. Strange parts of her brain firing rapidly, feeling so wet almost immediately.
It really highlights that powerful, immediate impact of physical attraction. Those details, the accent, the smile, they're like triggers.
Sparking this whole cascade of responses.
Exactly. Physiological, emotional. Her internal feeling, it underlines how primal that initial draw can be. It sort of bypasses conscious thought, doesn't it?
Totally. Like a fundamental assessment happened.
On some basic level, yeah.
And it's not just Kate. We see similar things elsewhere. Like Rose's reaction to her future stepbrother, Lucas.
Right, that unexpected strong reaction.
Her brain cells dying, finding him incredibly good-looking, toned, tanned.
And the physical signs face bright red, heart racing.
Yeah. Or Margaret with her new pool boy, Antonio. The tan skin, rugged handsomeness, gentle features.
Leading straight to imagining his touch, feeling that heat grow between her legs.
The contexts are so different. Vacation fling versus complicated family stuff, but that immediate intense attraction is there.
It's a consistent thread. And Rose's situation, that taboo element with the step-sibling thing, sometimes that can even amplify the feelings.
Right, makes it more charged.
And Margaret, finding this attraction after her divorce, maybe that's about, like, reclaiming her freedom, her sensuality reawakening.
That makes sense. And then there's Sasha running into her ex, Edward. Even married, there's that familiarity, that physical reaction.
Still potent, despite the circumstances.
And Jade's intense attraction to her stepbrother, Derek. Very detailed observations there. And Stella, immediately drawn to her gardener, John, his impressive figure.
It's everywhere, this almost instant chemistry.
Yeah. So when you look at all these examples, it just shows the sheer variety of situations that spark this. It's not just one type of meeting.
Definitely not. Which brings up a question, really. What do you think are the key ingredients for that instant chemistry? Is it just looks?
Probably not just looks, maybe something else.
Energy, novelty.
Availability, perhaps, or perceived availability. And given these varied contexts, a holiday fling versus a tricky family connection, how do people even navigate those powerful initial feelings?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, isn't it? How you handle it.
Especially when existing relationships are involved. Which brings us to the next point. These characters aren't in bubbles. They have friends, family, and these new feelings bump right up against those existing ties.
Like Kate being maid of honor for Tony.
Right. She's supportive, dealing with the bachelorette planning stress. It really shows those female friendship dynamics amidst all the relationship milestones and, yeah, the drama.
It really underscores how vital friendships are when we're navigating romance. Kate's commitment to Tony, even with her own stuff brewing.
Yeah, with Nathan.
Right. It shows the importance of that support network and the planning stress detail. That's so relatable. Even happy events have challenges that test friendships.
Totally. Then you have Rose, who's really wrestling with her feelings for Lucas while her mom's marrying his dad. Plus, there's Jack in the mix, too.
She's caught, isn't she? Trying to support her mom, but dealing with her own desires.
That's such a tough balancing act, family loyalty versus personal feelings. Her trying to suppress her feelings for Lucas out of respect for her mom.
It shows the sacrifices people sometimes make for family harmony. And Jack being there adds another layer. Maybe trying to manage those feelings or find another connection.
Distraction, maybe.
Could be. Focusing attention elsewhere when feelings get uncomfortable.
And Margaret has her friend Linda, giving that outside view on her choices, Gregory versus Antonio.
Yeah, Linda's like that crucial sounding board.
Friends can sometimes see things more clearly, can't they?
Definitely. That objective viewpoint is invaluable when you're caught up in emotions. They spot patterns, pitfalls.
And Sasha married to Jack, but then Edward reappears. Classic love triangle territory, testing loyalties. Or Jade and her best friend Lisa, both drawn to Derek, Jade's stepbrother. That creates this undercurrent of jealousy, unspoken stuff.
It shows how romance can really mess with friendships, create rifts, force choices. Sasha's story highlights the pull of the past.
And how it can disrupt the present.
Right. And Jade and Lisa, that shared attraction brings in competition, resentment, straining that close bond.
So, looking at all these interwoven relationships, how did these stories really show the challenges of balancing friendship with romance? Especially with, like, unconventional setups, step-siblings, exes popping up.
They seem to be constantly walking a tightrope.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it underscores the delicate act needed to nurture both friendship and romance. They show the potential for conflict when those worlds collide. Characters have to navigate really complex emotions, make choices with ripple effects,
And the unconventional bits just amplify it all.
pushing them against not just their feelings, but societal norms too.
Okay, let's shift again and talk about the sheer intensity of desire in these stories. They really don't hold back on the physical side.
No, they don't.
We get pretty explicit descriptions of Kate's desire for Nathan, her fantasies, and Rose's physical longing for Lucas. It's almost tangible in her thoughts.
These portrayals give us a really direct, unfiltered look at the character's physical desires. It underlines how significant sexual attraction is in forming and experiencing these relationships.
Kate's fantasies show how deep her infatuation is.
While Rose's longing highlights how intertwined the emotional and physical can be.
Margaret's attraction to Antonio is also super clear, especially compared to her past with Gregory. And Sasha's rekindled physical thing with Edward, despite being married to Jack. There are very explicit thoughts and actions described there.
Yeah, those are quite revealing.
Even Jade watching Lisa and Derek and her own interactions with Tom have this charge, and Stella's reactions to John, plus the vibrator mention.
It all emphasizes the role of physical desire in her life, too.
So these varied examples, they give this glimpse into how differently people experience and express sexual desire. Margaret with Antonio, maybe it's about reclaiming her sexuality after divorce.
Could be a sense of new possibilities.
Yeah.
Sasha's connection with Edward taps into that power of shared history, sexual familiarity.
Right.
And Stella using a vibrator highlights self-pleasure, acknowledging her own needs, separate from a partner.
So, looking at this whole spectrum of intimacy and desire, what do these portrayals suggest about the role of physical attraction in starting and maintaining relationships? Is it the main driver?
They strongly suggest it's often a huge initial catalyst. The intensity of the desire really underscores its power to pull people together.
But is it enough long-term?
Probably not on its own. The stories also hint that maintaining things requires more emotional connection, shared values, communication.
Life compatibility.
Exactly. Those seem equally, if not more, important for sustained intimacy. And desire ebbs and flows, right? Like with Sasha, the rekindled connection is outside her marriage, suggesting desire isn't always simple or aligned with stability.
Which leads us, unfortunately, to the challenges. Not all smooth sailing here. We see Tony's ongoing drama and Dean just tolerating it.
Seems like it. Endless tolerance.
And then Kate's affair with Nathan and the fallout with John, finding that cufflink, that felt like a huge turning point.
Oh, definitely. Those moments show the strains relationships face. Tony's drama might point to insecurities, maybe, or a pattern of seeking validation.
Could be.
In Kate's affair, John finding out that's a clear breach of trust, a major crisis, raising questions about why it happened and if they can recover.
Yeah, forgiveness, reconciliation.
Big questions. Then there's Megan, aware of Frank's affair with Helen, while she's starting something with William.
Exploring betrayal and seeking connection elsewhere.
It's a common narrative, isn't it? Betrayal leading to looking outside the relationship. Her thing with William could be coping or trying to fill unmet needs.
And Buck's view on Sarah and John, that whole dynamic, feels really layered.
Very nuanced. Buck's perspective brings ambiguity, unspoken desires, or maybe a less traditional setup with more fluid boundaries.
And Jack, potentially knowing about Sasha and Edward, maybe even participating. That feels very modern, very complex.
It does suggest a level of openness, maybe, or an unconventional understanding in their marriage, challenging traditional monogamy ideas.
While Lisa and Jade's shared interest in Derek just highlights that friction again. Jealousy, unspoken tension within a friendship.
Right. Reiterating how romance can strain even close bonds.
So, looking at all these different sides of infidelity and strain, what are the underlying needs or conflicts usually at the root? It rarely seems like just a momentary thing, does it?
You're absolutely right. These stories suggest it's often symptomatic of deeper issues. Unmet needs, emotional, physical. Maybe a desire for novelty, excitement, unresolved insecurities, communication breakdowns, lack of intimacy.
Unclear expectations, maybe.
Yeah, or that. The specifics vary, but it's rarely just a simple lapse in judgment. It's usually more complex.
But amidst all the drama and challenges, there are these moments of real connection too, right? Beginnings of deeper feelings.
Thankfully, yes.
Like Kate's supportive bond with Tony. That clear care between friends.
Those positive moments are crucial. They're a counterpoint to the struggles, highlighting that fundamental need for connection, empathy, support. Kate's support for Tony shows the strength of those female friendships.
And Rose eventually connecting romantically with Lucas. His gesture about her art was really thoughtful. And the proposal with the rose ring felt very personal. Like he really got her.
Their journey, despite the messy start, shows how real love and understanding can grow when there's mutual respect, support for passions. Lucas, seeing her art, proposing personally, it shows deep care, recognizing her as an individual.
We also see Margaret and Antonio developing intimacy beyond just the physical sharing personal stuff.
Yeah, that illustrates how vulnerability and real conversation deepen intimacy.
Yeah.
Create a bond beyond just attraction.
And the whole Sasha-Jack-Edward dynamic, unconventional, still evolving.
Suggests relationships can exist outside traditional norms, maybe based on open communication, shared understanding of desires.
And Buck inviting John to stay, Sarah welcoming him. Hints at that unusual dynamic again.
Right. Potential for unexpected connections, blurring boundaries.
And Stella's interest in John seems to be becoming more than just physical attraction.
Suggesting a move towards emotional, maybe intellectual engagement. A desire for something deeper.
So what are the common threads in these developing relationships, despite all the challenges? What makes those connections start to feel like something more?
I think it boils down to genuine emotional connection, mutual support, respecting individuality, understanding, acceptance without judgment.
Willingness to be vulnerable.
Exactly. Sharing thoughts, feelings. It's when characters truly see each other, appreciate who they are beyond the surface. That's when deeper feelings seem to take root.
And finally, these stories aren't just about the relationships themselves. They're also about individual growth, self-discovery within that context.
Very much so.
We see Kate returning home, realizing she's unhappy.
That's a powerful point. Sometimes romantic flings, even exciting ones, can distract from dissatisfaction elsewhere. Coming home forces her to face her reality, start figuring things out.
Rose is navigating family stuff and her art. Margaret's exploring desires, career after divorce. Sasha's confronting past and present.
Jade's grappling with her sexuality. Stella's reawakening her sensuality. seeking connection after loss.
They're all on these individual journeys, too.
Exactly. Relationships are just one part. They're also on paths of self-discovery, ambition, healing, growth. The relationships often act as catalysts for that evolution.
So ultimately, looking at these personal journeys tied up with relationships, what can we learn about understanding ourselves, our needs, especially within this messy relationship context?
I think these stories suggest self-awareness is ongoing. It unfolds through experiences, reflections, especially in our intimate connections. Navigating desires, facing challenges, feeling joy and heartbreak. It all gives insights into our needs, boundaries, what
Yeah.
feels authentic.
It's a lifelong process, really.
Definitely. Learning and evolving as individuals within this ever-changing landscape of connection.
So bringing it all together, these excerpts, they really do offer such a, well, fascinating glimpse into the intricate, unpredictable world of human relationships.
Hmm.
We've seen so many ways people experience attraction, navigate commitment, face challenges, pursue happiness.
It's clear how expectations, desires, past experiences shape everything.
You know how we're constantly juggling those complex emotional and physical needs.
Exactly. We've touched on milestones, initial attraction's power, the friendship-romance balance, desire's role, infidelity, moments of real connection, and that individual growth piece.
Okay, so a final thought for you, our listener. Thinking about all these diverse scenarios, these complex characters,
Hmm.
what do you think is the single most crucial element for a truly fulfilling, intimate relationship?
Hmm.
And how do these stories, with all their messiness, maybe challenge or reinforce what you believe? Did you notice any unspoken rules, societal expectations playing out in these fictional lives that maybe resonate with your own observations?
This deep dive has really just scratched the surface, hasn't it?
Absolutely. So now we encourage you to delve deeper into your own thoughts, your own experiences, explore this fascinating, often messy, but ultimately very human world of connection.